Hey everyone, good afternoon. Today is Tuesday, January 26th, and mixed day today to flat. The S&P 500 was down 0.16%. You see after yesterday's vicious sell-off in the morning, it rebounded, and today it opened up and then just fell back a little bit to make a red candle, but it still finished in the upper half of yesterday's range, and towards these are all-time highs, so it's still above the 5-day, the 10-day, and the 20-day moving averages. And we did that video on moving averages yesterday, so if you haven't seen it, go check it out on the education tab under moving averages for yesterday's date. So go check that out. We have moving on, the NASDAQ was up 0.15%. Again, it was a red candle, but not much movement. It's still up towards the top of the range. Sellers haven't done anything yet. We were wondering to see here on long bonds whether the 20-day moving average, this red line, was going to be broken to the upside and this gap was going to be filled, or if it was going to stay as resistance. And today it stayed as resistance, so that could be a market tell. That bonds are going to go back down, which would propel stocks up. Moving on, we also saw the dollar was down 0.29%. It closed right at this 20-day moving average red line, so a break below that and a break below the past few days low, which is only at 24.28, 2 cents down. A break below that would probably go on to test new lows. That would also help propel the market up further. Gold is hugging the 200-day moving average purple line. So this is a hard moving average to break. If it breaks to the other side of this, all the moving averages will go with it, and it would be in a new downtrend, but it's being supported by this 200-day moving average, and if it continues to break above some of these short-term moving averages, the red and the yellow, then it's going to be off to the races, and that would also make sense if the dollar were to start making new lows. Today in volatility, we saw volatility down 0.73%, and you see the red candle gapped up in the morning and fell back. Had people excited in the morning, but fell back. So really not much of a tell, just kind of more of the same here for the market. So we'll move on to some of the individual stocks here. We sold HUM today. Here, I'll type that one in here. So HUM, we talked about yesterday, it was hugging the 200-day moving average. And we said if it broke below there and broke below the lows of the last few days, which was 399.48, this one 401, yeah, so if it broke below 399, and the 200-day moving average is at 401, so it did that today. It broke it. It broke it on volume, so I think we sold it somewhere just under 398, 397.98, I think. Was the price we sold. So, and it continued moving further, and we kind of expect now that it has broken this line that it's going to test these lows and maybe even go on to make further lows. So we're out of that one. We took, I think, a 4 or 5% loss on that, but in its place we bought ASX. Was the only stock that hit our scanner today. So ASX, you can see, has been down the last 5 days. It's below the 10-day moving average, but there's a gap right here, and so even though we had a red candle today, I believe we're in at 716, so it's closed at 715. It was down as low as 710 at one point, and then closed up at 715. So we're expecting this gap to close and it to go back and test the 5-day moving average. And really, if it were to do that tomorrow on some volume and a big candle, it's probably going to go on to make new highs. So we may let it run tomorrow. If it's up, our target would be 744, but we may let it run all day and see what happens. The next stock, BSBR, it started up really high today and then fell back down. You see the big, not big, but the red candle here. So our target up here was the 50-day moving average around 8.04. Now that the 10-day moving average has crossed below the 50-day moving average, we're going to use that as a sell target. That's sitting at 793. So we're still expecting, the 5-day moving average here was at 749, and the high of today was 753. So it peaked above that moving average and then fell back down below it. But since it did break up through it, there's a chance that it's going to break further through it now. And so our target here is the yellow 10-day moving average. The next stock, ENBL, we have a target of the yellow line, 5.82. This is the 10-day moving average. And it got close to it. Again, we've had it close to it a couple times, hasn't quite reached it, but we do have a rising green 50-day moving average. That's pretty solid moving average. It's been support here in the past, so if this starts turning up some more, then it's possible we could even break through that and on to test the highs. So we'll continue watching that. If, again, just like the last stock, if we have strong momentum through it tomorrow, then we'll go ahead and hold all day and wouldn't sell at 582. Moving on, we have EPAC, EPAC. So our target here is the rising green line at 22.49. This is the 50-day moving average. It was up 1.02 today. You see a small candle with a small, looks like a star or cross. So indecision, not much happening. We'll wait to watch this break out and see what happens here. FRC was down 2.37%, and this is one that we may be looking at taking a loss on also. It has broken below the 20-day moving average here, which was 154.06. It closed at 152.73. So the lows from about 6 candles ago is 151.65. So if it breaks below 161.65 on some volume, then we'll probably look to sell out of those. The next stock, ITGR, it was down 1.14%. It hung just about the 50-day moving average here, 77.65. The lows from the last few days was 77.48. So it is making new lows. The low today was 77.18. It closed just off it. So if this continues to push down further, the only other support we have, I guess that's not even support. So here, I was going to say 76.24. Yeah. So this is the low from December 14th. We have the low here from December 10th at 75.5. So those could be areas of support, but if the stock does not get above the 50-day moving average tomorrow at 77.65, or if it's hugging it, it might be fine, but if it doesn't break up above it, then we may look at taking losses on this one also. Moving on here, we have ITUB, ITUB. It opened up high today at 5.5 and it fell back to 5.29. You see the big red candle. A lot of volume came in today, but you see the volume metrics starting to turn up on balance volume. The stock, most of the shares were, which means most of the shares were traded at these higher prices. So it is possible that tomorrow we get a green candle up to where our sell target is 573, the 20-day moving average here. Next stock, KEX, was down 1.7%. So again, it opened up right around the 50-day moving average, this green line, and then fell below it and made new lows. So this is one, again, It has a support here, this low at 48.51, but that's pretty far down. Also, the 200-day moving average purple line is at 47.51. If it starts breaking these levels of 51 or 50.8, then we may want to look at selling out of this one at a loss. The next stock, KNSL, was down 0.6%. Again, it opened up and then fell back down to where it's been holding up as of late, the last 3 days. So it has continued to make higher highs, which kind of goes along with the rising purple 200-day moving average. But our sell target on this one is the red line, the 10-day moving average at 201.73. If we get a pop up there, then we'll close out of that. The next stock, LVS, was down 1.06%. I see that the wick on top means it tried to get up, but the sellers overwhelmed it and ended up closing down. If it gets below yesterday's low of 51.62, then we also might want to look at taking a loss here. The 200-day moving average is at 50.14, this purple line, but the stock's looking weak, and we don't want to hold it all the way down to it, so we'll go ahead and take a loss there. PG was up 0.64%. You see it came down, bounced off the 5-day moving average here. You see the wick on the bottom, and then buyers won the battle and pushed it up to the 10-day moving average where it was resisted, sold off a bit at the close. So this one we're holding, we're thinking is going to get back up around this the 20-day moving average red line at 136.15. That's our sell target. USB was down 1.25%. You saw it gap up in the morning and just sold off all day. Sold below the 50-day moving average green line. So if it gets below yesterday's low at 44.91, then we will look to take a loss on that one and sell out, because there's not much support below there, all the way down to the 100-day moving average here at 42, and then 39 the 200-day moving average. The last stock we have here is VRSK, and it was down 0.10%. So it still closed at the low end of yesterday's range, still making lows. So if it goes on to make new lows tomorrow, which would be under 186, then it's probably going to drop down to this 181, and so we'd want to sell out and take a loss if it gets below 186 tomorrow. So that's it. Sorry if the videos weren't up last night, but I think we have our connection issues going, so the videos are back. Let me know what you think of the moving averages video. I'd appreciate that. See if you had questions or confused or if things made sense. So, all right, thank you.